Well guys, on this episode we will be reviewing this. This is the Zenith model VR9750J Beta VCR from 1980. And those of you probably wondering, have never seen a Zenith branded Beta. And it wasn't very common, and especially wasn't common for this machine either. But before we get started on that, it's been about a year. The 77 Chroma Killer 2 is still working beautifully, although it did require one repair. And it was actually not a problem after I restored it. It was a problem for the longest time. And the problem was, I'll just show you. The problem was this 4.7 ohm 5% 1 watt resistor in the vertical circuit. What was going on after I restored it, and even before when it wasn't working right when I first got the TV, I noticed the vertical height control was near maxed out. And after I restored it, part of the problem was a bad cap on the vertical module, and that resulted it didn't fill the screen. After I recapped the thing, that fixed one of the problems. But I noticed still the vertical height control was pretty maxed out. And I couldn't find the problem right away, so I swapped it out, a module, with another one, a newer revision, and it worked better. But what was going on was it wasn't maxed out all the way, but it was pretty close, and it kept blowing the vertical fuse, which is, I think it was a 600 milliamp fuse, and that's why I said, okay, TV, unplug it, not use it to figure out what's going on. Haven't had a chance to touch it when a good friend of mine, Aerofox, came up to deliver something I bought. It was a 1948 Admiral console stereo TV, and that'll be a video for later on, because I am going to restore that thing. It's probably going to be much later after I do the CT100 and all that. That said, I ran it by him. I said, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I said what the symptoms were. He goes, oh yeah, check this. I believe he said he thought there was a 4.7 ohm resistor. Well, he was dead on. That's what it was. Swapped it out, and it gets, I'm only at the vertical height about 3/4 of the way up, which is about where it should be, and it completely fills the screen, no problem. And I also put back the original module that was in it. So yeah, I probably talked 2 minutes about this TV, getting it back up and running, but as you see, it looks absolutely beautiful. It's still very, very bright. This was also another thing I bought off Aerofox. So again, thank you, and it's in operation again. It's fully restored, and it didn't look like this when I got it. It was filthy. It was complete. I'll go over what I did in a minute, but let me explain what's going on here. It's a 1980 unit, and Zenith called theirs the Video Director. Now this VCR is a clone of the Sony SL5800, but even though it's a clone, they're not quite the same. And also, I actually have a parts unit SL5800 I actually had to buy to restore this one. It's right here on the floor, and I'll go over what's up with it, differences, and why it's a parts unit. It was a parts unit, as in I could have made it working, but I had to sacrifice it. But I'll also explain a few things. Okay, I'm going on. Okay. Anyhow, I like this one. It has a nice padded vinyl wrap around it. Zenith logo there. Your TV VCR button. Records in Beta 2 and Beta 3. And this is interesting. Index, I didn't know what it did, but it's exactly what it means. And I was very surprised that it has this functionality. This VCR is way ahead of its time. you wouldn't see this feature till almost like the late 80s and maybe even early 90s on VHS decks, where it records an index mark. Every time you hit record or a time record happens, it records an index mark, and you flip this on and hit rewind or fast forward, it'll stop the VCR whenever it hits the next index mark. I did not know I had that, and that is so cool for this old. This whole machine is way ahead of its time. Even though it has the piano push keys, but although they're piano push keys, it's mostly electrical. All it's doing is actuating a switch, and the rest of it's all electronic, solenoid operated. So that's kind of interesting there, because I have an SL5800 from '81 that has almost the same chassis, but it's purely just simple electronic push buttons. Where this is like more because people were used to tape recorders and stuff with actual piano push keys. So I mean, you just press the button down of ease, and it just engages a switch, which then engages solenoids and stuff and makes it operate. All right, it has a 4-digit tape counter with a memory. So you turn memory on, it'll stop if you were to reset it, like right now, to 0, because I have the tape in the middle, and do this, it would stop right back there. Has a 2-week, 4-program timer recorder. You would put this down in the auto position to do that. Lots of LEDs in here. Even the VFD on this is dimmable. And it has a conflict light on there too. And it's kind of cool. It has a little shaded window over this, which is part of the differences between the Zenith and Sony versions. And has your Varactor diode tuner. I'm actually leaving the channel inserts as they were. Whoever owned it previously had it in this weird order. And I'm also going to review something interesting about this. This green power indicator is actually an incandescent bulb, but that's the only incandescent bulb on here. All these red LEDs and an amber LED for pause right here. And the tuner uses neon lamps with a phosphor coating to light up green. Clock is just strictly that, a clock. Oh, and I didn't mention this. I'm up top here. It says variable slow motion, frame by frame advance, and speed search. Again, this was like a first for this. Way ahead of its time. It's a 4-head unit with special effects. In fact, some rather unique special effects, which I'll get into. Go down here, normal and slow tracking, and oops, I left this in, but I'll get into that in a minute. It is that old where for line level inputs it says camera. And I do have a remote for it, but I'll get into that shortly as well. Camera pause would be help to the camera you're recording with. Camera and tuner. Tuner, of course, makes it run on the tuner, and camera is just a line level input, which is video. And oddly enough, the video is RCA, but the audio, and it has a microphone in jack, is 1/8 inch, headphone style. Also, it has audio dubbing, whereas you press play, and providing the record tab isn't removed, you can hit audio dub and record audio while the video plays. So it's like dubbing audio over without touching the video. We'll just go around the back here real quick. I've always liked these early beta and VHS machines, as they have an AC outlet built in to plug your TV into to free up an outlet. Get some light on the subject. Is your RF modulator and tuner, twin lead UHF, and also, you know, your VHF is 75 ohm F-type coaxial. Down here, you have video out, and audio out is still 1/8 inch jack. Now PCM is exactly what it means, and I'll explain that in a second on how that works. Now PCM Recording. This VCR is about 2 to 3 years before hi-fi recording on either beta or VHS even existed. That said, you could hook an external PCM digital encoder and decoder to the machine through the video input to record digital audio on a video cassette and encode it and decode it. What PCM actually does, though, is it simply disables the dropout compensator on the circuitry in there. That's all it does. So turning off the dropout compensator, that's about the extent I know of it. I'm going to continue researching that. Now, before I continue, what all did I have to do to this thing? There was quite a bit that needed done. Going by my experience of my other newer betas, they all being over 20 and going into 30 years old started having capacitor failure problems. I didn't know the condition of this, so I have all the caps in stock. I actually recapped this whole machine, and I only found 1 or 2 that were marginal, but hey, I feel confident now that I can use this thing for another 30 plus years and not have to worry about caps. I can leave it plugged in. You know how it is. And the only other thing that was wrong with it, once I got it going, I had to replace a couple belts and adjust a few of the solenoids in there, give it better tension. The video head, this was left at a Zenith repair shop, and the customer probably didn't want to pay to have it fixed, and that was why. Hence comes in the parts unit. I put all that work into this. I'm like, and the thing is, the Zenith version, try searching for this version online or on eBay, you're not going to find it. So it was worth it to buy one of these, which there's like 10 of them on eBay at a time, the SL5800, and I just swapped out the video head. I sacrificed as a parts unit, but that said, I plan on later this year to pick up another SL5800 and restore it to have the Sony version. So it's a pretty common model, don't have to worry about it. Now, so I replaced the video head, did some minor adjustments, it works absolutely perfectly. Alright, now let's go down here to the Sony SL5800. I do have it plugged in. This is the video head, actually the whole assembly out of the Zenith version. Now I could have just removed the upper drum and did all that, but you know, in case something got knocked out of alignment too much, I don't have a test tape to do anything with. It was just easier just to swap the whole thing. And here's another interesting thing to note. Now here begins the differences between the Sony and Zenith versions. The Zenith version actually drives the reel tables off the video head via a belt on this pulley down below, right here. The Sony version, on the other hand, has an entirely separate motor to drive the reel table. That was one of the first things I noticed, and it has a few extra circuit boards, and there's some really odd differences between these machines. Oops, I had it apart, and I guess that needed snapped back into place. And it's actually just getting ready to go back out to storage because it's now officially a parts unit. But look at the difference in the clock. This clock down here has more, it's a different VFD, it's more bluish, has a blue filter on it, and the display has a lot more functions on it, and I'll show you why in a second. Now we're going to go up top here. See, in this one this says on, off, and timer. We'll go ahead and turn it on. One of the things is the incandescent power burned out, but this is where it gets weird. Okay, I'll start here with the timers, okay? This one here, you see it's different colors, but everything's the same. Still has a brightness switch. But you notice there's only 2 LEDs on here, and there's no conflict indicator. You see A, B, C, and D, second week. And I'm trying to see what else we could see in here. And this one even has a little instruction guide right here on how to set it up, whereas the Zenith doesn't. Other things to note that are different. The Sony version has a wood grain trim around it instead of the padded vinyl. And it doesn't stop there either. You know, very interesting. It does have the pause and freeze light like the Zenith, but it's incandescent instead of an LED. Incandescent as well for record. These right here, I also have to get into. I can't use it because I'm missing a piece, and I could use it with the Zenith version, but I'm not. I'm going to leave it off. There is actually a beta stack changer, as in, yes, it changed tapes. It would record a tape or play a tape. It would actually, it was so cool how it did it. It would eject the tape would come out, and it would drop it on a bin right here, and then drop down another tape, put the tape in the machine, and push this down. All mechanical, actually. It even had like little plungers to push the piano push keys down here. It was really cool. But anyhow, that's what this bracket here is. Unfortunately, like I said, it's missing pieces. So I have a beta stack changer I can use as parts, but a lot of them show up mint in a box on eBay. And that's good. Fast play. The Zenith version does not have a fast play button on the VCR itself. It's on the remote, and I'll get to that later. But you see, these buttons are all the same. Even has little green text to indicate the special effects functions, such as beta scan, freeze frame, and this one is, you know, and it has some neat color codes there. Down below, everything's the same. Normal tracking, normal and slow motion tracking. And these are all the same down here. And the other differences are the tape counter. You have tape counter here. You have the memory counter, the tape counter memory off and on. And you have the index function on a switch right here, where the Zenith version brought that down in the front. Here's standard Beta 2 and Beta 3 record mode, and your TV VCR button. Another thing I noticed is the tuner is backwards on this one. It flips open this way and has the different channel inserts that are more in line of Sony's televisions. A lot more colorful. And it needs new belts, and it needs the tires conditioned and everything in there, and obviously it's missing the video head at this point. But this, and also like a little chrome strip on the Sony version on top. In the back, everything's the same. RF modulator unit, that's the same. It has the outlet right here. But down below, it has, and this is the same on my SL5800 from '81, has the Beta 1, then Beta 2 and 3 switch. Now, I actually don't know how this works yet. I have to find out as I repair these machines, because the Sony version does not, the Zenith version does not have this switch right here. And if it's I believe that Beta 1, when you put it in that mode, will only play back Beta 1. I don't think it records Beta 1. But I'll find out. Because my SL5800 actually needs recapped, because the servos circuits for the video head drum, once it warms up after about 10 minutes, it just starts going nuts. And it's a known problem with bad caps. So hence why I recapped the one up here, because I didn't know what to expect and I wanted it to work perfectly. Well, it works perfectly now. So yeah, this is the part here. Another thing interesting is the clock, instead of flashing 12 o'clock, it just flashes the colon. Let's just say I set this, okay? I'll just press clock set, which I can't, because that's another difference. The Sony version, you have to put like a pen or something down in there. Anyhow, this, when it is running the clock, the upper colon blinks for 30 seconds and the bottom colon blinks for the remainder 30 seconds. Just like all the Sonys, where this one doesn't blink at all. So that's just some of the major differences there. So yeah, this is what the actual Sony version of this VCR looks like. That's the Zenith version. That's what we're going to be finished reviewing in this video. Sorry it takes so long, but I really wanted to go over this. Now, next thing I'm going to do is dub a couple movies to beta. Now, the other thing is, the beauty of this is this exists I want to say about 2 years prior to the advent of Macrovision on beta and VHS machines. So I can easily copy movies. This isn't the movie I'm going to copy, but this is Speed, as you can tell. Set the exposure to the TV. So yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Hang on one second. And this will be the movie I'm going to dub to beta. So, sorry, throw it out right now. So what we're going to do now is load up the TV. The TV's on actually, just in line input with the Blu-ray player off. And what I like to do on these tapes, depending on how the VCR, I record this blank signal from line input with no signal for about 30 seconds, and then I'll start the video. That's how I'm going to do this. We're going to record it on Beta 2, and this will actually, I did do two test recordings to make sure everything worked correctly. So now it's going to be its first full recording.
Predators are the only ones going south.
That is accurate. Yes, that is accurate. Yes.
Why? Why is this happening?
We still don't know.
Well, some time has passed since I recorded Zootopia, and since then I haven't made the video continuing on from that to demonstrate it. But it's actually all for good reason. Not only from my vacation coming up, company coming over, and everything that went on, but right after I made this video, of recording Zootopia, I did not have the remote for this unit. I did have the remote off the Parts SL5800, and I was going to use that, and I'll explain how that works in just a second. But on eBay, I just happened to do a quick search, and even though I had searched for it before numerous times, it showed up. The proper remote for this unit. This is the exact one that goes with it. Now, the remote that is for the SL5800 parts unit is this one. You notice it has a dial on it. I'll explain that in just a second. But this remote here did work with the Zenith here. Only thing that doesn't work is this dial. And that is a very unique function that's only available on the SL5800. It was the only model they ever offered it on. I'll explain that real quick. You know how on newer machines you heard of a jog and shuttle dial? It's very similar to that. This was like an infinitely variable beta scan, which is your cue and review function, as you can see. If there goes to max and you click it on, that's full speed. Now the Zenith remote does not have the dial on it, and that's because this Zenith does not have that capability. Remember how I said the video head drum drives the reel tables? Well, the SL5800 drives the reel tables with its own separate motor, and that's how I was able to do the infinitely variable beta scan. I'm saying infinitely variable because it's not truly infinitely variable. It's just how it's perceived. I do know, like the slow motion part of it, it has a end position that locks down for your still frame, but everything else, there's no intermediate positions. It just slides up and down. I believe it's based on the resistance of that, and it decodes that and adjusts the slow motion speed accordingly. because of course it's going to lock into a frame, and it's just like any modern VCR, advanced frame by frame by frame, hence the frame by frame. It works no different than a modern VCR would. It seems to give a much better range, much more slow motion range of the options. But yeah, so plugging in the Sony version of the remote for this VCR, this does nothing, but all the other functions work. So sorry for that long-winded explanation, but yeah, I'm very happy I got the proper remote to go with the Zenith. So now we're going to demonstrate the VCR. We'll start by loading it. I already kind of queued up the tape here. This was a new old stock tape I bought in the early 2000s at Radio Shack. I think Sony is the OEM on this tape because it is made in Japan. It's an L750, 3 hours on beta 2. Okay, so load the tape. This is what it does. Okay, and we'll go right into play. So this is how it sounds when you go into playback.
Feel traffic coming? It wasn't me. Did you just boot my stroller?
Nicholas Wilde, you are under arrest.
For what? Hurting your feelings?
Felony tax evasion. Yeah, $200 a day, 365 days a year. Since you were 12, that's 2 decades of times 20, which is 1,460,000, I think. I mean, I am just a dumb bunny, but we are good at multiplying. Anyway, according to your tax forms, you reported, let me see here, 0. Unfortunate.
And that's what a still frame would look like. Sorry if the camera's messing up on this. I also apologize for the brightness of the room. It's a very bright day, and still have yet to get the blinds installed here. We'll do that very shortly. That said, it's on pause. Pause light lights up, and the light on the remote. Now I will demonstrate the functions of the remote control. Alright, so we have it on pause. Alright, and now to do the variable slow motion. So we'll just slide this on. I'll go full speed. And just slowing it down. So you can get it going pretty slow automatically. Again, forgive the bars on there, it's just the camera doing that. And still frame by frame advance. And we'll just unpause it.
Popsicles is the prison cafeteria.
And there's also
Sweetheart.
triple speed, which is this, of course, what it says, 3x playback. Leaves the capstan engaged, or I'm sorry, pinch roller engaged, and just increases the speed that way. Okay, and we'll just take it off, triple speed. Now, it's in a dark scene right now, but what interesting about Sony betas with the beta scan, speed search, they do not increase the speed of the capstan. They actually release the pinch roller to freeze speed, you know, just like a cassette recorder would when you do a cue and review function. It just merely releases the pinch roller and it just runs fast. So that's why any noise bars you do get on the screen is not steady. It kind of rolls, but that's just the nature of the design. So watch, if I do a fast forward, you're going to hear the pinch roller release and it just runs free. So kind of like, yeah, but you see it works just fine. Now, being this is a 4-head unit, you know, this is perfectly clear. If this was a 2-head unit on beta 2, you would not, it would not be very clear. It's far better than a 2-head VHS, but it's the same thing. It's just special effects. And this is what rewind search would do. So it works just exactly the same. But that's what's nice about Sony betas like this. The response time between switching modes is instant. It's beautiful. And this just goes to show how long the cable is. I'm way over here, which is about 20-25 feet away from the TV. But yeah, it's a pretty long cord. Pause it from way back here. And fast forward.
Well, I had a ball.
So yeah, I'm very happy that I got the original remote to this thing. And it's in mint condition. In fact, it was very well taken care of, whoever had it. They must have set it like on their armrest or something. It actually had rubber feet on the back, which I took off. But, you know, I appreciate things like, you saw the other remote, it was a little beat up, but this one's in pretty good shape. And I did have to do a few adjustments to this VCR. I filed the Sam's photo fact for it, actually. And everything was pretty much in alignment, just fine. I did do a video IF alignment on the tuner. Looked pretty good as is, but it was very smeary looking, so now it's razor sharp. But the one thing that did need adjusted, because when I did my first recording pass on this, was the both the record bias and the playback level and equalization. Because when I recorded it, it was really quiet and muffled. And after I readjusted the record bias to what it should be, it was perfect. And then I tweaked the playback level to match the recorded level. So that got perfect. And I adjusted the playback equalizer. So the sound quality on this for linear audio is fantastic. And I'm not going to show it here, but also, you know, audio dubbing works fine. Like right now, so if I were to hit audio dub, whatever's on the tuner, or if I had it on the camera, aka line level input, would record that audio too. Or I could hook a microphone to this and like dub myself over into this if I so choose. So right now I'll demonstrate the fast forward and rewind modes. Now from the Zenith remote, that's all for special effects only. Up here, still gotta press stop and go into rewind or fast forward manually. That said, auto rewind, it does just that. At the end of the tape, it'll stop. It doesn't have to pull the plunger down, push button for the rewind. It'll just go into rewind automatically. This light will light, because again, this thing's still purely electronical. It's just the buttons are there just for aesthetics. This is what fast forward will sound like. It sounds pretty cool. Let's kind of do this. So there's one more thing I want to show on this tape before we end this video. So I'm going to fast forward to it now. And by the way, this is the VCR's tuner itself, which as you can see looks phenomenal. Very sharp and clear. And doing IF alignment on this is no different than doing IF alignment on a TV. I got the proper equipment to do so. And it works extremely well. I found even on older things, like this, that where the it'll look good, or you think it looks good, after you do an IF alignment, it looks like incredibly sharp and beautiful. It makes a big difference. I've been doing it on everything I've been restoring now. Look, very good results. Normally this label over top of this window would have been peeled off when it was new. I'm not even going to do that. Because I mean, normally you could look down and see the tape, but you know, it's kind of cool seeing the original packaging label on there still. as you saw, the SL5800 didn't even have it on there. It actually would have came with it. Also to note, while it's fast forwarding, this whole thing right here is a giant vent, and right here where the cooling fan is over the video head drum, it's just sucking in a lot of air because it actually runs the video head drum at a much higher speed to obtain fast forward and rewind. And the cooling fan is merely there to cool the the motor underneath that drives everything, because you saw how large that thing is. I mean, this thing's a beast. So yeah, this thing is so odd. It's like so far advanced with features and everything and functionality, but yet so old school since it's like an early unit. Hey, check out my van, man. And before I finish up this video, I'm going to show this scene from In Olympics, which is my favorite scene. And it's totally period correct for everything that's going on right here, and this looks very good and very trippy on this TV. And also, I never realized this, but I think Dean Wilson here was sort of my inspiration for my Otter character in Fursuit. So, without further ado, here we go.
It's been said before, but it bears repeating. When this boy dives, he goes off into his own world.
So to finish up this video, I'll do rewind. So stop. Rewind doesn't sound as cool as fast forward does because it's an entirely different pulley. But listen to how this works. Here's the tape counter. Also to note, notice how the Beta logo isn't quite the newer Greek letter Beta. It's more modeled after the U-matic logo. If you look it up, I'll insert it right here. This is what the U-matic logo would look like. But also they kept the Roman numerals for the speeds. So yeah, this is pretty much the full demonstration of this beautiful machine, and it's very pleasing to even look at. You look at a VCR from the 90s, just a black hunk of plastic. Nothing really interesting about it. This thing has chrome, it has polished aluminum, padded vinyl, different colors that are all shiny. I mean, look at this thing, it's just beautiful. Never gonna find stuff like this today. It's a very beautiful machine. Even the remote. Just look at that thing. Just beautiful. So there's tape and stop. And eject. Beautiful. And that be it. So, thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe.